Welcome to the first mock draft of the 2025 draft season. Obviously, things are a little early right now. Some teams don't even have coaches yet. And of course, we have free agency to go through. So this is more of a just for fun mock draft. And so I'm going to do some maybe a little out of left field picks, and we're going to see kind of how those sit with people. And the main point here is we're just trying to get familiar with the names, with the faces that we might be seeing on draft day. So first up, top of the board, first overall pick, the Tennessee Titans. Mike Borgonzi has said that he wants a generational player or will not pass up a generational player. There's obviously a need for quarterback here, but the quarterbacks I wouldn't really describe as generational, and I don't think many people would. The other thing, too, is that this is year 2 of a new regime as far as the head coach goes, and this is year 1 for the GM. Generally, you have some leniency to build things over time in that kind of situation, so I don't think that they're pushed to take a quarterback right now. So when they're talking about a generational player, I think they've got to be talking about one of two people. That's either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Travis Hunter, obviously the 2024 Heisman winner, the two-way player out of Colorado. Abdul Carter, just a total athletic freak. Feels like he's impossible to block coming out of Penn State. A lot of Micah Parsons vibes people are getting. For me, I think that it makes more sense for him to go Abdul Carter in this situation, so that's what we're going to do. It's not saying that he's just substantially better than Travis Hunter, but it's kind of an easier plug-and-play, get him in right away. There's no questions about can he play two-way or anything like that Travis Hunter brings. With Abdul Carter, it's you take him, you put him on the edge, and your defensive line gets better. And it's really as simple as that. And that immediately improves the overall quality of the defense substantially. Everyone on that defensive line is going to get more one-on-one opportunities, more chances to win and get pressure because Abdul Carter is there. It's that simple. Number 2, the Browns are in an interesting spot because they could really go either direction. I don't think that Kevin Stefanski is necessarily on the hot seat, so he may not be pressed to take a quarterback because of that. But at the same time, you're kind of looking at either take a quarterback or blow it up. And I don't really think that there's a middleman there. If you don't take a quarterback, if you don't make an attempt to be a competitive team this year, then you might as well say bye to Myles Garrett. And if you're saying bye to Myles Garrett, because he's almost 30, he's going to be 30 next year, and he doesn't want to play on a rebuilding team for the next 3 years. If you're saying bye to that, then your whole defense needs to change its perspective and figure things out again. So you're left with those two decisions. Either take a quarterback here or sell Myles Garrett, maybe even trade back and just accept that we're going to be rebuilding for the next 2 years and we'll be competitive in 2026, maybe 2027. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take a quarterback, because I think that they want to keep Myles Garrett and they want to be competitive and they think that they're a quarterback away, right? And what is that going to be? Now, a lot of people are going to go with Cam Ward in this situation, and totally understandable. He has probably the higher upside of the two quarterbacks here that are available in the first round and that are being considered for the first round. He's more athletic. He's got better arm talent. He makes big splash plays. But on the other side, he does make a lot of turnover-worthy plays, which means you're going to have to rein him in. You're going to have to teach him to play NFL quality football at the quarterback position. Because of that, and because I think he's a better scheme fit, I'm actually going to take Shedeur Sanders here. Now, a lot of the time, players with higher ceilings just go higher, and I think that makes a lot of sense. But when you look at the Browns and the way they operate, they're a very timing-focused offense. And that is where Shedeur Sanders' strengths are, is playing within rhythm, within the offensive scheme, and on time. If Sanders is going to be successful in the NFL, I think that there are only a couple places he can really go, a couple offenses that he can work within. He has to go to specific spots to be really successful because he does not have the incredible arm talent to elevate a team. He doesn't have explosive athleticism to just run and scramble and make plays from nothing. He wants to sit in the pocket, he wants to find the open guy, and he wants to throw it to him. And it's really that simple. And this is the type of offense that I think he can be successful in. So for that reason, I am going to go Shedeur Sanders here, which means I talked about the hot seat and not hot seat. This is a team that's definitely on the hot seat. More on the hot seat than really anyone else. Daboll's had a couple of years. He had a great year 1 where they made the playoffs and even won a playoff game. awesome to see, but since then, there's been nothing good, and a lot of that has been because of the quarterback room. Cam Ward is like the perfect day ball QB. He kind of gives you those Josh Allen vibes of like, well, he's got all this talent, but he's going to need to take a lot of steps up in the accuracy department, in reading the defenses, making correct decisions, not forcing it. And with Daboll's help, Allen was able to rein things in. He's only gotten better since, and I'm not saying Cam Ward's going to be Josh Allen by any means, but it's a similar type of player, and if you can bring him down a little bit, he's going to be a really solid player, a really solid quarterback here in the league. And with Malik Nabers there, that's an immediate connection that's pretty good for a quarterback to come in with. So that's going to help him settle things in and just do overall better. So I really like this pick. I think it's a really good fit. The Patriots are a really interesting one because you can go a lot of different directions with them. I just mentioned before how I think that Malik Nabers makes it easier for a quarterback like Cam Ward to get comfortable in the system, have someone he can trust and go to. The Patriots are really missing that quality of receiver, and I really think that there's only one in this draft, and that's Teteroa McMillan. We're going to take the 6'5" wide receiver out of Arizona here. A lot of people are kind of pushing back against this. They're saying he's not good enough to go here in the top 5. I really don't think that there's a similar quality of player that's going to be available to you. I get a lot of Drake London vibes from him, both in the sense of the lanky contested catch ability that he has, but also just kind of the overall smoothness of routes. When you watch Drake London, he has really nice, just like deep ins, deep outs, and he almost always gets separation on these, even though he doesn't always get separation on everything he does. That's one of his like premier routes. And even with Michael Penix, when he came in, you'll notice, like, if you look at the numbers, Drake London got a lot of targets, and Penix didn't always hit those deep ins, deep outs. But when he did, they were big gains and they came in crucial times. And that's kind of what McMillan gives you. He can be someone that Drake May can just find and get the ball to. And the Patriots just need a receiver like this so bad, but they also have so many other holes on the team. This allows them to spend that free agency money elsewhere, bolster the team, and still get that big body X Drake May can go to in a panic and just trust to go and win one-on-one. If you could call it a slide, I think you can call this a slide for Travis Hunter, who's ranked 1 here on PFF, ranked 2 on Daniel Jeremiah's board. The slide's going to stop here. The Jacksonville Jaguars are taking Travis Hunter. I really like Travis Hunter to Jacksonville because he's immediately just a plug-and-play cornerback for them. Not only is he just a fundamentally sound cornerback that can immediately play right away, he also has tremendous ball skills as a receiver, and the Jaguars are one of those teams that maybe don't need him on the field all the time, and I think that's an advantage because you're not going to overwork Travis Hunter. There's still a question mark on if he even plays both sides in the NFL. I don't think that he can really play a large amount of snaps. Here in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence has had a lot of trouble getting the ball to people in the end zone without them going out of bounds, not able to get both feet in, those types of things. Travis Hunter's the exact type of target that you would want in those situations because his ball handling skills are so good, because he can just go up and win in the red zone, in the end zone. I really like him as hey, we're going to put you in for these 10-ish plays, and they're mostly going to be red zone focused plays, but most of the time you are our CB1, and you're going to be on the field all the time as a CB1. I think it's a perfect fit. I think it really makes a lot of sense. The Raiders have so many different routes they can go, but the thing I keep going back to is that running game was so bad, and we're sitting here with Ashton Jeanty on the board, and even if you have a terrible quarterback, if you have a solid run game, it makes everything easier. Just plain and simple. Look how good Ryan Tannehill was with Derrick Henry. I mean, it's absurd how good he was. Ashton Jeanty can be your Derrick Henry to Aiden O'Connell's Ryan Tannehill. If you have to run out Aiden O'Connell, there's still the opportunity. They could go out and get Sam Darnold. They could go bring in Russell Wilson. The other thing, too, is with the Pete Carroll hiring, Pete Carroll has taken running backs maybe a little higher than they should have gone. Not saying Ashton Jeanty is going too high here, but that's the pick I'm going to go with. I think it just kind of makes that offense just so much better automatically. And if you can just have a quarterback go in there and hit the quick game with Brock Bowers and, run a lot of RPOs, run this heavy play action, 2 tight end sets, which you can do with Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers on the field, I just think it makes a lot of sense. And then you're not as worried about the quarterback position. You can be a competitive offense without a strong quarterback. It might help rein in Gardner Minshew if he's still going to be there next year if they don't, cut him. The Jets brought in Aaron Glenn, former Jets cornerback. When I look at this team, I think that a lot of the time it's about like who the coach is, what the coach wants. I think that this is the type of coach that really wants to just like nail cornerback and just have this just elite duo between Sauce Gardner and whoever they can put across from him. And that's where they're kind of missing a hole right now. I've already kind of in my brain picked Will Johnson here to the Jets. He's got great size. He's fundamentally sound. The only question mark comes in maybe like the tackling game I've seen and top end speed, but the tackling could be because of some of the injuries he sustained this year. Same could go for the top end speed. We're really going to have to see how he does in the combine, but I really like them targeting CB2 here. And if they're going to play similar to how the Lions played, a lot of just man coverage, they're going to need fundamentally sound corners. Sauce is obviously already one, but you're going to need 2. Will Johnson makes a lot of sense to me, and it immediately improves that defense. I want to go wide receiver so bad on the Panthers, but I just don't know that there's really like an ideal receiver target right here without McMillan on the board. Their defense was awful. And really, if you look at it, their defense was just like a little bit better. The Panthers could have been on the outside looking in. They had a couple games there that came down to just one more stop. If they had gotten it, then they would have won, and they could have ended, 9-8 and been just on the outside looking in very easily with just a little bit better defensive play. They are going to be getting Derek Brown back. I think having him back is going to make a huge difference, but I really want to put someone next to him. Mason Graham just feels like such a perfect matchup. It is so tough to stop 2 really good interior defenders. You'll look at Washington was competitive for a long time with what people thought were really bad teams, even won the NFC East one year, and a lot of that had to do with the combination of Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. Here's the chance for Carolina to establish their new Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne kind of combo with Derek Brown and Mason Graham together on the defensive line. Saints, I'm going to go with Mykel Williams. He has a lot of versatility at edge rusher. He's someone that they move back and forth a lot between edge rusher and linebacker. And since the Saints are hurting at both positions, they kind of have the versatility to figure it out from there. But otherwise, he's just an athletic freak, as most Georgia defensive linemen are. And it's something the Saints have needed to address for a while. Now, this is one of those picks that could really change a lot depending on who they bring in as a head coach. But as of right now, I think that this is a really solid pick. The Bears are really interesting to me with the Ben Johnson hiring. Obviously, the defense is in a good spot, and they're bringing in Dennis Allen, who's run really strong defenses for a while. Logically, it makes sense to help this interior offensive line. Caleb Williams took more sacks than anyone last year. A lot of that is also because he was holding the ball too long. Ben Johnson's scheme and coaching hopefully will kind of mitigate some of those. But also, the interior isn't good, and they could stand to improve there a lot. However, I will say that I don't think that they really need tackles. It's very much center that seems like the priority need, and then the guards also could stand to improve quite a bit. But when I was looking through Detroit's history to try to get an idea of what Ben Johnson might do, I actually found that they really didn't take offensive line much at all. Obviously, they took the big one in Penei Sewell. But outside of Penei Sewell, they did not take another offensive lineman in the top 2 rounds. Jonah Jackson in 2020 was taken in the 3rd, and Giovanni Manu was taken in the 3rd as well last year. So because of that, and because, there have been some comments, some sentiment that guards go too high, they're a more easily replaceable position, and that they don't need to go as high. That's the Seattle GM said that specifically, and that could be him, smoke screening it up. But, there isn't a lot of guards that go very high in the draft. Usually you start to see them around the 20s and into the 30s and 40s especially. Because I think I'm going to go with Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Tyler Warren has gotten some Jeremy Shockey vibes. He has the size to be good at blocking, but also the size to just completely box out defenders and be a great option in the pass game. And I understand that they have Cole Kmet already, but the Lions do run a ton of 2 tight end sets with Ben Johnson. They also love the 6th offensive lineman that they like to bring in a lot. I really think that this is a super fun pick that still kind of addresses some of the needs that they're looking for, but also just really takes it over the top, Tyler Warren really has that Brock Bowers level hype, and he went right around this spot. I just think that this could be really fun, and a part of this is what I would do, right? And Cole Kmet's fine. I don't love Cole Kmet as this high-level receiving option, though. I really think Tyler Warren can be better than Cole Kmet, and you can still run both those guys on the field. If you have Odunze, Moore, Warren, and Kmet all on the field at the same time, that sounds really tough to defend. I just think that Ben Johnson is going to start it off fun, and this would be a great way to do it. Not going to overthink this one with the 49ers. We're going Will Campbell. They've needed a lot of help at offensive line. Their best offensive lineman is getting older, and that's going to become an issue as time goes on with Trent Williams. Will Campbell has inside-outside kind of flexibility. He might be a really great offensive tackle. He might get moved inside and play guard. They need help at both. So let's take a guy that could fill those roles whichever way we need him to go. Now, a lot of people have Ashton Jeanty to the Cowboys. I already have Ashton Jeanty off the board. He went to the Raiders. So when I'm looking at the Cowboys and I'm trying to think, well, what would be their next need outside of running back? I really think the gap is so big between how badly they need running back that I'm actually willing to say, no, I'm comfortable taking Omarion Hampton here. Really, the gap between Jeanty and Hampton isn't the biggest thing in the world. It's not that crazy. And this kind of gives me those Gibbs versus Robinson vibes where Bijan was like, yeah, of course he's going to go in the top 20. And then Gibbs, might go in the first round. That was kind of the vibe a lot of people had. And then the game kind of changed a little bit and people were like, no, we need running backs. We're going back to running a lot more. Bijan ends up going high and then Gibbs also goes very high. This kind of gives me those same vibes. This team needs running back so bad. Hampton still has that blue chip potential. I think that he's a great fit over there. I think that they would do a lot of good with him, and he would immediately improve Dallas's offense right away. The Dolphins are losing both their safeties, and even if they brought both of them back, one of them was Jordan Poyer, who is definitely getting up there in age. I'm going to go with Malachi Starks here. I think it makes a lot of sense. They just need that safety role to be filled. If they lose Javon Holland, that is such a massive hit. He's been so good for them. I just think it makes a lot of sense. Colts could go a lot of different directions, but honestly, I just think the defense was so bad last year, and we're bringing in Lou Anarumo. I am a Colts fan, so that's why I say we. We're bringing in Lou Anarumo, and I don't want to get it started off on the wrong foot. I want to make sure that he has the players to make this work. So I'm going to take Jahdae Barron here. He's just such a beast out of Texas. I've really liked what I've seen from him whenever I've watched him play. And he seems like one of those players that people are only going to get more excited for as this offseason goes on. And especially once we get to the combine, he definitely has potential to really show out there. Texas has just done a really great job of just getting true athletes on the team. Falcons just need edge rushers so bad. Their edge room is just awful. They even traded for Matthew Judon. Judon wasn't really good for them either. I just don't see how this team can really have any sort of long-term success if they don't get any pressure. Mike Green has been just kind of blowing up recently. I know he's from Marshall. It's a small school, but he is just such a firecracker. He's another player that is just, the athleticism is there, and it's only going to get more and more exciting as we get closer to the draft. He's already being kind of rumored around these spots. I'm technically taking him low according to PFF. but we're going to go with him here. Cardinals are another team where it's kind of hard to say exactly where they need help. You know, they don't have a lot of weapons outside of Harrison and McBride, but at the same time, do they really need to invest in those with a high pick when they already have such great first two weapons there? I don't know. It's hard to pull the trigger on that. The thing that keeps jumping out to me, just like with the Falcons, is we need more pressure. We need just a better defensive line for this defense to come together as a whole. I'm going with Kenneth Grant here to help with that interior. 340 pounds. He can play nose. He can play tackle. It just kind of depends on what you really want to do with him. But he's a monster in run defense, can stifle things up the middle, and he also has the potential to get a lot of pressure as a pass rusher as well. Bengals are up next. I'm going to go with James Pierce Jr. here. I really hope that they can bring back potential Defensive Player of the Year winner Trey Hendrickson. Even if they do, Sam Hubbard and Myles Murphy have not been it. They have been just so rough to watch, honestly. James Pierce Jr., he has the potential to just win one-on-one. And if you have Trey Hendrickson, they do bring him back, I think he just immediately elevates this pass rush to a degree it hasn't been in a long time. Now, when I was doing this, I actually kind of just, because of the way PFF's board works, sometimes you forget about players because they're down on PFF board, but they're actually much higher when it comes to the general conversation around these players. So Jalen Walker slipped a little farther than he probably should have, but I'm going to pull the trigger on him here to Seattle. Seattle just loves these versatile players, being able to move pieces around to really confuse offenses and quarterbacks. That's why they see even big cats like Leonard Williams out in coverage. Jalen Walker has that versatility to be both an excellent pass rusher and can drop back into the coverage. He has played a lot of linebacker as well. You can see there's almost an even split between him playing on the defensive line and in the box as a linebacker this season at Georgia. Just a really, really exciting player. The Bucs are kind of looking for the same thing there because, they're missing a lot at linebacker. I'm going to have them take the second, kind of the runner-up in that style of player in Jihad Campbell out of Alabama. Very similar situation, more of a linebacker, but can come down and play on the defensive line. He's probably better overall just on tape as a linebacker, and that's just something the Bucs have really needed lately. Just that Lavonte David's getting up in age, and they don't really have that level of consistency in either position. Now you have the versatility to kind of move things around and try to hit where you need to. Bo Nix showed a lot of good, and he showed a little bit of bad, but most of that bad was early on. He really settled in as the season went on. I was overall very impressed with Bo Nix, but I do think that the weapons were a little too weak. Now I'm a little torn on where to go receiver-wise. Sean Payton just loves his Ohio State receivers, so it made it very tempting to go Emeka Egbuka. But actually, I just think that Luther Burden overall is, to me, the better player. I've just loved what I've seen from Luther Burden, mostly from his 2023 campaign. There was a lot more inconsistencies at quarterback in 2024. But I really like Luther Burden. He'd be small if they did put him on the outside. He's going to be excellent in the slot right away, and they need help there. But you do also love having that versatility where he can still be on the field in two tight end sets and things of that nature. Emeka Egbuka is going to fall much farther because I'm going to have him taken here going to Pittsburgh. They need slot help. They need more depth at receiver. It kind of was just the George Pickens show last year. And once George Pickens went down with an injury, their season basically ended. They just need some sort of safety net aside from George Pickens to play in that middle and underneath game. And that's perfect for what they could get out of Egbuka. The Chargers are an interesting team because on one hand, they were so well coached that they made a run people really didn't expect. But on the other hand, once they got into the playoffs, everything just kind of fell apart for them. And it fell apart in two ways. Just no receiving options outside of Ladd McConkey. And the offensive line just collapsed under the pressure of the Texans' defensive line. You could address either one here. Really, I'm between Matthew Golden out of Texas. His stats may not jump off the page to you. Didn't even break 1,000 yards in the 16 games that he played. But he was open a lot. If you go back and watch, he's open all the time, and there's a reason that he is kind of trending up these boards as more people are looking over the tape with him. However, because the interior is so bad, Armand Membu still being here is really interesting to me. He has played nothing but right tackle, but given his size, if they moved him inside, Daniel Jeremiah says that he has potential to be an all-pro level guard. This could be your Joe Thuney, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger on him to the Chargers now, and we're just going to continue to make this offensive line as good as possible. You know, also at 22, you really could consider tight end. Colston Loveland is still on the board. He hasn't been taken yet, and you've got the Michigan connection. I've seen that pick a lot, and I think it makes a lot of sense too. They really need tight end help. There's also the question marks on Khalil Mack if they don't bring him back. How good is this pass rush going to be without him? And then also the running back game. J.K. Dobbins had an awesome resurgence, you know, this year that was really fun to watch, but I don't like putting all my eggs in that basket, and I do like Kamani Vidal a lot, and I thought he was really impressive when he did play, but he just played so rarely. I hope he gets more snaps next year, but I would think it'd be understandable to tackle running back here. If Omarion Hampton was still on the board, I would really think about that, but I do also really love Scatabo, Henderson, Judkins, Neal. There's a lot of different directions we could go with running back if we wanted to do that. But the fact that it's still so deep at running back is a big reason why I think that I would rather wait and try to maybe move up in the second round and get one. With Packers, it's pretty easy. Shamar Stewart just kind of fits the bill. It's the type of player they're always looking for, these big body, athletic defensive linemen that they can move around and develop and just turn into like A-plus players. You can see he moved around quite a bit throughout 2024. He just kind of fits the bill for a standard Green Bay Packers first round pick. Vikings have tried to invest into safety with Lewis Cine. You know, they're just not going to have Harrison forever. There's a player that's been going up the boards a lot lately, and that's Amanawari. We're going to take him here in hopes that he can be our next long-term safety option since they've struggled to fill that position so much lately. I would consider running back here too. Aaron Jones was pretty solid for them, but I still think that they could have done better. But the offensive line is going to be healthier next year. That's going to help out a lot. And they could always use more help in the cornerback position, but there's just not really a quarterback I want to jump on right now. I hate to put doubt on Tank Dell and make it a comeback, but this is the second year in a row he had a major injury that sidelined him. There's question marks of how long he's going to be out. I think that they need help at receiver. They also need help on offensive line, and they could go a lot of directions with that. We do have two really talented offensive linemen still here, but I'm going to go with Matthew Golden here. I talked about how he just gets open all the time, and that's just more reason why you would want to plug him in and give CJ Stroud another option when things get sketchy. It's pretty well known the Rams tried really, really hard to move up and get Brock Bowers last year. I could see them pulling the trigger on Loveland right away. He's not really your like stand and block tight end. He's really more of that kind of slot receiver tight end, more of the Brock Bowers type. So I think it makes a lot of sense that if he's here, the Rams would pull the trigger on him. Ravens have a lot of O-line questions, and I think we need to stop the slide of these tackles. I'm going to take Kelvin Banks Jr. here. Josh Simmons is also really interesting, but he did have a major injury, and he has a lot of projection. I think that does hurt his stock a little bit and will cause a little bit of a slide, you know, these injured players. I think Kevin Banks was better than people are giving him credit for. In some of the toughest games there, like against Georgia, he did really well. Especially in the SEC championship matchup. This is a Lions pick. I think we're going to see a lot. Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. You know, the Lions have created this identity of thunder and lightning with Montgomery and Gibbs. Well, now they've got a bit more thunder and lightning with Hutchinson by putting Sawyer across from him. There's some question marks on if they keep Zadarius Smith. He might be a cap casualty. He might not be. Even if they keep Zadarius Smith, you got to think about your future. And with Smith being older and Hutch getting injured, you know, you'd like to have a better rotational piece to put in there and could still trust to go out and win. I think Jack Sawyer's perfect for that type of game plan. The Washington Commanders offense was very, very good this year, and a lot of that's Jayden Daniels, a lot of that's Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think that they really need to invest more in offensive pieces unless it was the offensive line. However, like I said with Josh Simmons' injury, I'm just not really comfortable throwing a pick at him when instead we could try to address just how awful that run defense was. It was just truly horrendous. And it's a big reason why they couldn't do anything. And if they're going to play Saquon Barkley 2 more times and now Omarion Hampton in Dallas, they got to invest in the defensive line. We're going to take Derek Harmon here, and he's going to be able to help us both in the pass rush and in run defense, and it'll help us get more big bodies up front. I like Jer'Zhan Newton, but he is undersized for an interior defensive lineman. Now you have a better rotation where you can put Harmon in on early downs and short yardage downs. Get Newton in more on the third down and long. We're just pinning our ears back rushing. Bills are in a really, really similar spot. They've just needed interior help for so long. I'm going to go with Walter Nolen here. I think a lot of people have kind of pitched Walter Nolen or Derek Harmon to the Bills. I'm going to do the same. Philadelphia almost always goes edge or tackle. Those are just the two positions that they love to address here. They have also gone interior defensive lineman a couple times, but they always like to build in the trenches, and I think that they're going to keep doing that here. We're going to go with Nick Scorton. He has the size to go kind of either way, inside or outside at 285, and he could be another developmental piece as time goes on. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, they could really go either direction when it comes to offense or defense. I think that their defensive line is just so bad besides Chris Jones. Like, if Chris Jones got hurt, they really just wouldn't have a pass rush anymore, I don't think. Especially now that defensive back play has kind of taken a step back from the McDuffie and Snead duo era. I'm really tempted to go with an edge rusher here, but there just isn't one that jumps out to me. And we are letting both Josh Simmons and now Josh Conerly slide. I'm going to go with Conerly. He could be our left tackle of the future. He's got the size we're kind of looking for. So there we go. First mock draft of the season. We'll definitely have to do some more once the coaching situations get a little ironed out, and especially as we find out more about these prospects. And I'd love to do some more videos talking about individual players here, so I'll look out for that in the future. But as for now, that's all I've got for you. If you guys enjoyed it, let me know. If I made any really controversial stuff that maybe piqued your interest, or if you've got some stuff that you think people aren't talking about, let me know. I'd love to do some more digging into that. This channel's all about learning more about football and talking about it in a positive light, positive attitude. So thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. See you guys on the other side. Peace!